Hi, I'm Carrot Pack, and this is my Module 3 Special Education Interviews. I interviewed a paraprofessional and a building level principal from the same building and district, and then the teacher that I interviewed was a former teacher that I taught with, but she has now moved on to a different district. When I asked about the child find procedure, there was a very common thread throughout all three interviews, and that was that nobody was very familiar with the procedure or the process. The para had no idea what it was or how it worked. The teacher said in her district, they do pre-K and kindergarten screenings, but she wasn't sure what it entailed because she doesn't work with that 0 to 4 years old program. But she did know that there was a preschool for any student who had an IEP that they could attend. And then the administrator said that it occurs throughout the year at our district office. They don't do it at the building level, and that although each building does have a kindergarten roundup and kindergarten testing, that they ask certain questions, observe different things, fill out different forms. But I know personally that a few years ago, the child find did happen at the building level. I remember seeing there was a date, a list of posted dates for the community to come in and meet with the nurse, the social worker, the speech pathologist, PT, and OT. I'm not quite sure what they discussed in those meetings, but I do know that if services were needed, I did see specifically the speech pathologist working with children who were under the age of 5. The most challenging part of special education, the para said changing schedules, and I think this is hitting home really right now because we just had a large change occur in our para schedule, and it caused a lot of hurt feelings and frustrations because they've been working with students all year long. They've built these relationships, and because schedules changes, sometimes they found themselves not working with the same students that they had been working with, and that's hard for them because they want to continue to work with them and see them continue to grow. Um, so that's been difficult for them. But they also feel like as a para, they have a lack of authority, that sometimes the students don't see them on the same level as teachers. And so they try to get away with a little bit more. And then trying to manage those behaviors while still teaching the academics can be difficult for them. The teacher said her greatest challenge was having a large caseload with quite a large variance of student needs and making sure that she is meeting each student's individualized needs. And she mentioned that when she was going through getting her special education degree, she felt like she was not prepared to deal with students with emotional disorders or behavior disorders, and that makes up a large part of her day right now. And she did not feel prepared through her college coursework, so she's been learning as she goes. And with that, she said trying to find that balance again, like the para said, between teaching academics and managing behaviors. And she gave an example. Sometimes she'll be working with a small group in her room, giving instruction, and then a general ed teacher will call her and ask her to help manage a behavior of another student, and so she has to leave her small group to go manage that behavior. And sometimes she feels like she's pulled in two different directions. She's not helping everyone and giving them what they need. And then the administrator said his biggest challenge is just reviewing and monitoring every single IEP, making sure that goals are being worked towards and met, and that minutes are being followed through the way that they should be. And then again, managing the schedules of everyone, because if one student moves in, he said it's like a domino effect. It can just change everybody's schedule. The most rewarding part of special education, the para, she did not hesitate. She said the students. She loves working with the students. She loves building those relationships, seeing them grow, seeing them be able to do something that they previously weren't being able to do, and then see how excited they get when they finally can do it. And then she also liked being in different classrooms. I know as a teacher, sometimes you feel like you're on an island and you're all by yourself and you don't know what's going on in the rest of the building. And so she said she was very thankful that she got to go into different classrooms, see different teachers, get different ideas, and just build different relationships with people. The teacher, I just love her. She truly has a passion for what she does. A little backstory, she has her own daughter who has special needs, and that inspired her to go back to school to get her special education degree. And so when I asked her this question, her whole face lit up and she said, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. She said everything. She said, I love, 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 love my job, and she truly does. Some examples she gave, she loves watching students grow in their confidence. And a lot of times she said they're not confident in their abilities. And when they start to gain mastery over skills, she can see their confidence rise. And she said it just brings so much joy to her heart. And she loves to be able to share that news with parents and send them a text or an email and say, look at your student, look at what they were able to do today. They're such a rock star. And just to share those joys with them. And then she likes to co-teach with general ed education teacher. She said last year she was able to parallel teach with a fifth grade teacher, and she said they planned every day together, they taught every day together, they laughed, they cried, they shared joys and challenges and triumphs, and she said it was just the most rewarding experience. And as an administrator, he said being able to bring a team together of professionals to work together to meet the individualized needs of every student, and that can be hard sometimes, is getting everybody on the same page. But when it works, he said it's the most rewarding thing to see everybody working together as a team to do what's best for our kids, and then being able to report that progress back to parents. Advice for supervision of staff. The para said the advice that they would give is to try to cut down on the number of changes to their schedule. They understand that sometimes changes need to be made, but not quite so frequently. So if there's a way to change schedules without it affecting the largest number of people, they would recommend that they would do that. But then to understand that when changes are made, that there are feelings of frustration, and to be empathetic of those feelings, and to be there to help them work through those feelings. And also to communicate. A lot of the frustrations come from the fact that changes aren't necessarily communicated to them. And so they show up to the room that they're supposed to be in, but only to find out that their schedule has now changed and they're supposed to be somewhere else, and that can be frustrating for them. The teacher suggested holding a meeting at the beginning of the year with the whole SPED team, social work, PT, OT, speech pathologist, the SPED teachers, the school psychologist, and just working out the logistics for the school year so that when the students start, they can hit the ground running. But then to continue those meetings as a team every week to see what's working, what's not working, what needs to be fixed, and to continue to make sure that they're all on the same page working together. And she took it one step further and suggested having weekly meetings for paras, which I thought was a great idea after hearing what the para said, because I think if you hold those weekly meetings, it allows for communication to really take place. The para can communicate how they're feeling or any questions that they have, and then they're also being kept in the loop and being kept up to date with all the changes. The administrator said he would ask that staff submit weekly schedules and to periodically check on those schedules to make sure that minutes are being met, because it is his responsibility to make sure that those minutes are being met, and that they're consistently being met. Working effectively with parents. The para said they don't have a lot of interaction with the parents, but they just always try to treat the children with the love and the respect that they would want for their own child. And so that's how they feel like that's best served for the parents, is if they work in a professional manner. The teacher said she loves working with parents. She usually calls the parents the first week and establishes a mode of communication, whether it's phone calls, texts, emails, and she tries to communicate with them at least once a week to share joys or challenges with them, and to just make sure that they are feeling a part of the team and a part of their child's school life, and to give those weekly updates. The administrator said it's important to have frequent and consistent communication with the parents to make sure that the parents are aware of what the goals are, how they're progressing towards those goals, and what interventions are being used to help the student achieve success. Working with the general education teachers, the para said they appreciate having consistent and clear communication. They want to make sure that the gen ed teacher is clear about what they expect the para to be doing. And then also being seen as an equal. If the teacher treats the para as an equal, then the students will treat the para as an equal. So establishing that they are on the same level from the beginning is important for them. The teacher said she likes to have weekly kind of check-in meetings. She checks with the general ed teacher to make sure that they're getting everything that they need and that they don't have any questions. And she loves to co-teach with them whenever it's possible, because she thinks that's, as much as she can get her students in the general ed classroom, the better it is for them. And the administrator said that it's important that gen ed teachers get IEP at a glances so that they can see what the IEP is, what the goals are, and what the interventions are, what they're doing to meet those goals, so that they make sure that they are on the same page as everybody else. And that they need to communicate with the students' needs, and it's also their job to be working with the paras as well to make sure that everyone's working together. Advice for first-year administrators. The para said keep the paras in the loop. Make sure that they feel a part of the team. A lot of the times paras do so much work and they don't get the same appreciation that they deserve. And so just making sure that we see them as a critical part of the team is important. And I definitely would do this as an administrator, because I remember as a teacher how valuable the paras were to me. And so as an administrator, I have to make sure that the paras are feeling appreciated and feeling valued in their job. The teacher said to treat all students the same. Any administrator needs to treat every student the same, and they need to get into those resource rooms and build relationships with those students and encourage them to have dreams and aspirations, and that they could do anything that they want to do, and just build that relationship with them. The administrator said the advice he would give is to familiarize yourself with your particular district's process on IEPs. Each district might have a little variance, but also familiarize yourself with the law. And I know when I came in, that was my number one concern, was I knew that I didn't feel as familiar as I wanted to be. So that is something I'm taking to heart, and I'm really trying to familiarize myself with processes and all the terms and the legalities that come with it. He also suggested reviewing each IEP before you walk into that meeting, so you know exactly what it says, who the team members are, what the goal is, what the minutes are, and setting an agenda for that meeting, and just check on everything. Always be consistent and check up on everything. The roles of the SPED teacher and the building principal. The para said she saw the SPED teacher as their first go-to person. When they have a question, when they have a problem, or when they have a success, they usually go to the SPED teacher first. And they saw the principal as more overseeing everything that's going on and to make sure that everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. The teacher said, for both the SPED teacher and the building principal, communication is key. Both people have to be communicating with each other. And she thinks it's extremely important that the building principal make sure that they establish themselves as part of the team, part of the SPED team. They are an integral part of it, and so they need to be knowing what's going on, and that they have to work together as a team to support those needs of the students. It won't be as successful if they are not on the same page. Administrator said that he agreed that everyone has to work together, and you have to communicate that progress. But you also have to be willing to communicate your challenges, and if you're not sure about something, you have to go ask. I appreciated the teacher said her building principal actually relies on her quite a lot. When he's not sure about the laws, he'll come and ask her, and I think that is great. I know that's something that I would definitely do as a principal, is know who to go to ask to if I have a question. And the administrator said he expects his SPED teacher to keep him informed. And I thought that really tied back to IST 3C, that if you promote and model effective communication and collaboration amongst all stakeholders using digital aid tools. So make sure you have communication, whether that's group chats or emails or texting or phone calls or face-to-face meetings. And I think it's up to the administrator to promote and model that effective communication. The communication you expect from your SPED teacher, you need to be able and showing it and modeling it for them of what exactly you expect them to be communicating to you. Characteristics for aspiring administrators. The para said they should be a good communicator, they should be approachable, and flexible, and I totally agree with all of these. Sometimes it's hard as a para and you don't feel like you can go and talk to an administrator, so I think it is definitely the administrator's responsibility to be present and to build those relationships with all of their staff members, so that if a problem does arise, they feel comfortable coming and talking to you about it. The teacher said that they need to be non-judgmental, and they need to show unconditional love for all students and compassion for them. But they also need to have time. And this is something that principals don't have a lot of, but they need to make time and show that they are there to support their SPED team whenever necessary, and to build relationships with all those students. The administrator said you need to have a willingness to learn and acknowledge that you don't know everything, and you need to familiarize yourself with the law. And I am the first to say I do not know everything when it comes to SPED law, but I do know that I am making a great effort to familiarize myself with it. Thoughts and projections. Like I said, I'm trying to familiarize myself with the laws, but I know I'm not going to know everything. So I think the most important thing for me is to know who my go-to people are. If I have a question or if I'm unsure, I need to know who I can go to ask. And I'm not going to be afraid to ask that, because it is always better for me to ask than for me to make an assumption and make the wrong one. Communication, communication, communication. I have to communicate with my teachers and my paras and the staff and the parents and all the stakeholders. If I expect that communication from them, I have to be willing to give it as well. So I'm going to start building those relationships from day one, because I think the stronger the relationship and the trust you can gain, the better the communication is going to be with those students. So that is something that I am going to continue to work on throughout this course and throughout my career. Thank you.